Baseball Tonight is driven by Chevy.
Not the Angels, not the Cubs, not the Red Sox. It's the Philadelphia Phillies. Hardly a team that you would have as a favorite even into September, but they come on and win the 2008 World Series. Along with John Kruk, the former Philly, Chris Singleton, and Steve Phillips, I'm Karl Ravech. And for the 5th time, folks, in a row, we haven't seen a Game 6 of a World Series. These things start 1-1, and then all of a sudden a team gets on a roll. This time it was the Philadelphia Phillies who got on a roll. Charlie Manuel, you may not understand everything that comes out of his mouth. His players do, and this city embraces him like nobody else. Let's flash back to this puppy, because remember, it was 2-1 on Monday night when Carlos Pena, who had been very quiet, delivered B.J. Upton amidst the slop that was Citizens Bank Park. After that hit, the tarp came out. Monday at 10:40 Eastern Time, Game 5 was suspended. Tuesday, we didn't play. We come back Wednesday. 46 hours later, they're back on.
They had plenty of time to warm up.
Jeff Jenkins had plenty of time to wait for his opportunity. And in speaking to the players, I don't think he knew he was going to get that call probably until, what, 15, 20 minutes before the game?
A bit surprised. We all thought Greg Dobbs, Matt Stairs possibly. Jenkins comes up and he sees fastball after fastball from Belfour, catches up to one and drives it in the gap.
Jenkins pinch hitting for Cole Hamels, who was obviously out of the game. Jimmy Rollins said, "I'm button no matter what I hear from a third base coach or Charlie Manuel." He moves a man to third. It was almost as if this was the 8th inning. They're playing for 1 run. Just get it to the closer. We're only in the 6th inning of this resumed game. When Iwamura couldn't come up with it, the Phillies were up.
That tells you how special a team this is. When Jimmy Rollins, a guy who loves to be in the spotlight, gives himself up so someone else can drive in the run and do the right thing.
All right, so we saw one bullpen fail a wee bit. Here comes Ryan Madsen. He too struggles, maybe uncomfortable with this idea of you're actually the starters in a game because the game was suspended for 2 days.
Hey, that was 94 up and in. Rocco Baldelli just got to it.
It's tied at 3. It was Madsen's first home run given up at the bank since April. Great play in this game defensively. Utley fakes to first. It looked like Jason Bartlett didn't know where the ball was or what out. He got nailed at home.
Utley's one of those guys where if you just look at him, you stand up in a line, you're probably going to pick him as the best athlete, but he's probably the best athlete. You get him on a schoolyard playing hoops, playing anything, he's probably the guy that's got the best tools all around.
That keeps the game tied at 3 through 7. Meantime, the former Miami Hurricane, who blasted home runs down in Coral Gables, delivers what looked like it was going to be a home run. And now you're thinking this is extra, maybe it's definitely 2. Is it a triple? He stays at second.
Well, B.J. Upton got too close to the wall, and with the ball ricocheting, he got that far away. You got to be thinking 3. Baldelli gets over, and Burrell doesn't run as hard as he should, ends up at second.
Brundtland comes in to pinch run. Victorino failed to get a bunt down twice, still able to pull a ball.
Well, absolutely huge right there to get him in scoring position.
And then Feliz takes an elevated pitch from the man who drags his knuckles on the ground, Bradford, and Feliz, yes sir, did the job. He put the Phillies back on top 4-3. About a leadoff single to Crawford. Danger time for J.C. Romero, but this is big too.
Huge pitch right there. You know, Upton's hit a bunch of home runs in this postseason. Not a home run hitter. He's looking to go deep to put the Rays ahead. A pitch down and away gets him to roll over.
They're up 4-3 to the 8th, now to the 9th. Bradledge on. Evan Longoria pulls the string on one, and there's one out.
Well, he threw Longoria a lot of fastballs. I kept thinking to myself, you better throw him the bender. He throws him the slider right there, gets out in front, hits it off the end of the bat, pops it up.
The next batter, Deanna Rivero, for a city that has dealt with disappointment for over 2 decades. The 0-2 pitch, and he breaks his back.
The crowd was into it big time. That base hit quieted everybody, and they were worried.
Perez comes on, and he steals a base quickly. Francisco Perez is going to be a superstar. Next year, he runs, and he runs really fast. Ben Zobrist is not pinch hit for. He goes to right. 2 men down. Eric Hinsky and Harry Callis in his radio booth.
The 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball. And let the city celebrate.
The great voice of Harry Callis. Zobrist was actually in a pinch hitting role. They didn't then move him out. He came in to pinch hit. Hinsky was also coming up as a pinch hitter. And Harry Callis knows the emotions that Ruiz and Lidge are feeling because he's been doing this well before these guys were ever Phillies.
Well before they were even born.
Well before they were born. Their first World Series
Icon.
title. What's that?
Icon.
He is an icon in this city, and all of a
Bucky's an
sudden,
icon too.
Cole Hamels is an icon. Ryan Howard's an icon in this city as well. They marched the banner around. Jeff Jenkins, by the way, had gone through 1,349 games in the regular season before he got a chance to play in his first postseason. What an impact he made by doubling in the first at-bat. The Phillies led off their first 2 innings of the resumed game with doubles, and they ended up coming around. They beat the Rays by a score of 4-3. He is the Philadelphia Phillies man, Charlie Manuel.
The layoff didn't hurt neither team. I think we came out with the same intensity that, they had the same intensity that we had, and I think that their thoughts were just like ours. That they were determined to win the game. The game played out well. It was a well-played game, and we did some good pitching at the end, and we came out on top.
Jimmy, you've sort of been calling this for 2 years, haven't you?
Well, not exactly. Not exactly. Last year I was just calling to win a division. This year I think, from the beginning of the outset, we all had the mindset that we can win the World Series.
Chase, first, just describe your emotions right now.
As high as you can get, the emotional high. This year's been an unbelievable year. This group of guys is a very special group of guys. I'm proud of every single one of them. Everybody deserves to be in this position, starting with the players, the coaching staff, the organization, and the fans. So it's been a lot of fun.
Ryan, can you describe what it's like to be out here in the middle of the field after winning the World Series?
It's absolute pandemonium. It's the greatest feeling right here, right now, and it's everything that you worked for. That's why you put the uniform on every day.
28 years between 1980 and 2008. That Philly team with Mike Schmidt and the rest ended up winning 91 games. This team wins 92 in the regular season and the National League East. Clinching save, Tug McGraw, who prior to Game 3, his ashes were spread on the mound by his son, Tim McGraw. Brad Lidge gets the save, obviously, in 08. Schmidt and Hamels, your World Series most valuable players. Charlie Manuel, I don't get the sense that he overthinks things, but boy, when he simplifies things, it all seems to make sense. And I don't know how Jeff Jenkins made sense, but it certainly did.
Charlie just he's pulls a magic rabbit out of his hat every time he goes to his bench. He went to his bench with Matt Stairs. Matt Stairs delivers a big home run against the Dodgers. He does it again in Game 5 with Jeff Jenkins after resuming the play. This was the last guy I thought would hit. I thought, maybe if they bring Stairs in, they bring in a lefty, and you might see Chris Costo, Taguchi, Bruntlett, whoever. But he leaves Jeff Jenkins in. He lets him hit. Yeah, it's just amazing the things that he's done and the unorthodox style that he has managing this team. But it works, and that's all that matters to this city and to this organization.
I talked to Jeff Jenkins before the game, just ran into him, kind of an old friend. I said, wouldn't it be something if you come up and you get a big at-bat at the end here, hit a home run or do something special. Didn't hit the home run, but we talk about guys it's real special for. It's easy to look at Rollins. It's easy to look at Hamels, Howard. But for me, Jeff Jenkins, guy had never been in the playoffs. They beat the Brewers in the playoffs, and then they get all the way to the World Series. He has a big hit, only his second at-bat for this.
Did he say to you, I'm going to lead off the game?
He just had a big smile on his face.
He knew then?
No, they didn't know. No one knew. I talked to Dobbs, I talked to Stairs, and I talked to Jenkins. No one knew coming out to batting practice who was going to lead off.
All right, he brought up a good point. You look at Utley, and you'd probably identify him, and I know the players feel the same way. Like, he's the guy. That defensive play he made, I don't know if Bartlett ran into that by mistake or what, but Utley was there to make the play.
Well, Chase Utley's a baseball player. He's a winning baseball player. We see him a lot of times get it done with a bat, but he's much improved defensively, and he understands where he is in time and space on a baseball field. The ball hit back up the middle here. He backhands. He knows with Ian Moore running that he probably doesn't have a play, but he heads up. He looks around third base, sees Bartlett going, where Jason Bartlett, I think, had a brain cramp there. He just wasn't paying attention, thought maybe the throw was going to first base, and Utley makes a very athletic throw, going to Carlos Ruiz at the plate. He plays it on the hop. Another nice play by Ruiz, getting the out there. So Chase Utley is such a leader and a winning player. Whether he gets it done with a bat, on the bases, or defensively, he helps them win.
Remember, when this bizarre game began on Monday night, he was the one that came up with that unassisted double play, tagging Baldelli when he ran by him and still threw to first. You need a team to have superstars, and this team certainly has got it. And a guy like Pat Burrell, who was having a poor World Series, comes through along with Pedro Feliz. Ruiz and Feliz down the bottom, and Burrell. Those are the guys. Those are the difference makers in these events.
Oh, absolutely, because the star players, they're going to get theirs, but they're also going to be pitched the toughest too. It's the guys who you don't expect, the Ruizes, the Felizes. But Pat Burrell came up with that huge hit in that inning to get the rally started in the 7th inning, to get the double, and then Pedro Feliz. A guy that when they brought him in, everyone thought he could be a 25-30 homer guy in this ballpark. It didn't work out. But you know what? You know what the fans are going to remember about Pedro Feliz? This hit right here that won this team the World Championship.
Forever.
That's what they're going to believe.
Yeah, you know, Karl, it's not just the doubles. It was the situational hitting. We got the doubles from Jenkins and Burrell, but it was Jimmy Rollins advancing Jenkins, and then it was Victorino advancing Burrell to be able to get him in scoring position to get the big hits or the productive outs to score those runs. So where they failed early with runners in scoring position, they made the big plays in this game.
And Pedro Feliz had a 2-out RBI single in Game 4 as well. So kind of below the radar. He's come through with some big hits.
He sure has. And we don't know, but it appears as if perhaps Pat Burrell and Elvis may leave the building. His dog is Elvis, 115-pounder. He's a free agent. Will Pat Burrell be back? If not, what a way to go out in style as a World Series champion. The hero, Brad Lidge, all season long. El Perfecto again.
Welcome back to Baseball Tonight, driven by Chevy.
Recipe for the Phillies is pretty simple. Get a lead, get the ball to Brad Lidge, and let him close it out. And he does. As the Philadelphia Phillies win every game they play at home in the postseason, joining only the 99 Yankees to do it. Peter Gammons was there in '99. He was also here in 2008 and spoke with Lidge afterwards.
Brad, after all you fought for a couple of years, is this real extra special?
I think so. I mean, it was everything I could do to fight tears out there. I mean, after that happened, it was just the most unbelievable feeling. And these guys behind me being on this team, I feel so blessed to be here right now. I mean, I just have to thank God for everything. Every part of my career, I wouldn't change anything because it's got me to right here, right now.
You came out there, immediately started throwing sliders. Do you have a lot of confidence in that pitch tonight?
You know, I do, and we've been going with it all year, and tonight nothing was going to change. You know, I had to get it with my best stuff out there, and we were going to let it go no matter what happened.
Did you shout when you got that final out?
What's that?
Did you shout when you got that final out?
I have no idea what I did. I know I fell down. I couldn't believe it happened. I don't know what else I did.
Oh, Brad, congratulations.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, thanks.
What he almost did was get knocked unconscious by Ryan Howard, who flew in from first base. How about the season and postseason? That's combined 48-0 with an ERA under 1, and the opponents never really were able to manage much against him. He's obviously the back end of this bullpen. The bullpen was so solid. Brad Lidge getting it done.
Player of the Game is brought to you by Chevrolet, an American Revolution.
Last couple of years, you get used to Jonathan Papelbon throwing 99 miles an hour. Brad Lidge doesn't do that. He can throw at 95. He's the difference, though, isn't he, really?
Well, there's no question about it. When you look at the Brad Lidge acquisition that Pat Gillick made this past offseason, it really was the difference between the Phillies and the Mets to win the division and get to the playoffs. It was a difference against the Brewers, against the Dodgers, and against the Tampa Bay Rays. He was a difference maker. And you really think about where he was a year ago or 2 years ago and 3 years ago in the Astros organization and where he is right now at perfection. Go back to 2005. Remember the big League Championship Series home run to Albert Pujols? And these were home runs that Lidge never really lived down, and they ended up prevailing in the series. But those have haunted him since that period of time. And he struggled, and it was on his mind, and people always held on to it. And it was part of his resume and part of who he was. And then he went on to the World Series. He was 0-2 in that World Series as well. But he got the job done. Remember, the only real blemish on his record this year was the All-Star game. He took the loss in the All-Star game that ultimately gave home field advantage to the Tampa Bay Rays. But this guy was the key. He solidified the pen, allowed Madsen and Romero to be so good leading up to him.
It also spoils the position players. You're a guy that goes out there and he's perfect over the course of the season. You never really see perfection, but when you go out in the ninth as an outfielder and infielder and you know he's going to get 3 outs, you're going to be back in the dugout, gives you a tremendous sense of confidence after that 8th inning, because the 9th inning can always be just a hair-brainer, but he's done a tremendous job. And really the last closer standing, we look at this season, several teams that were contenders or would-be contenders had problems with their closers, whether it was the Mets or St. Louis or Milwaukee, but Brad Lidge consistent from opening day all the way through the final game of the season.
Well, and the way you can be consistent the whole season is the fact that he didn't have to pitch more than an inning, but maybe a handful of times because of guys like Chad Durbin, Madsen, J.C. Romero, Scott Air when he came over. Every guy in that Phillies bullpen stepped up this year and delivered and made his job. Look, the closer job is never easy, but it made it easier. Last year, the Red Sox, how would they have been if Okajima wasn't so good and Timlin wasn't so good in the postseason? That allowed Papelbon to go just that one inning when they need him. The same thing happened this year. The bullpen stepped up huge for the Phillies. What was supposed to be a weakness was their strength and why they're the world champions.
And on the other side, they didn't really blow saves, but I mean the fact that Dan Wheeler was the closer all year, or where Percival wasn't there, it was Wheeler. Wheeler disappeared here, and they didn't exactly have a guy you could pencil in. You talked about the All-Star game. Don't forget, Kazmir ended up getting the win in the All-Star game. The Rays lose tonight. We'll talk about Tampa's season after this.
You're watching Baseball Tonight, driven by Chevy.
Hard on this night to look back and say this was a successful season for the Rays. However, when you knock the Red Sox and Yankees out and win the division that most people had you pick to finish 4th or 5th in, it was a success.
Foundation did you lay for the future with this season?
I believe that primarily that we're fundamentalists when it comes to playing the game. I believe that we know that unity is important, that everybody's got to be on the same page. I believe that pitching and defense matter. It's just not about hitting home runs. And again, it's just about this method or way of operating, of playing the game. Now, when we go to spring training next year with the DVD, and we bring the minor league guys over there and break down this World Series, they can see that the little part may be the biggest thing of this entire game. So, we've learned a lot, and it's not just about this big league team; it's about our minor leaguers also.
Thank you, Joe.
Team. We have a bright future, there's no doubt about that. Like I said earlier, even though I'm disappointed, I also know that this has been a magical season, and everybody thought that we were going to be home, September 30th, I think it was the end of the year. For us, we got to play, 4 more weeks of baseball. So awesome, just magical.
When you go to spring training, wanting to be here, and I said it from the beginning of the postseason. We had the whole 9=8 slogan and all that, and all of it ended up being true. So I think we really can't change a thing. You go into spring wanting to win and wanting to be in this situation. So dream big. We got to want to get back here again.
All right, so here are the Rays who go from worst to first. I mean, they were in the zone all year, and all of a sudden in the World Series, they're kind of bumped back to like zone 6. You know what I mean? When you have to load the plane late. They were in the zone all year. What happened?
Yeah, good point, Karl.
Thank you.
It really is a remarkable story. I mean, you've got the 29th ranked payroll in all of Major League Baseball. It's the lowest payroll ever to get to a World Series. They're 5 starting pitchers, 26 years of age or younger. The last time that happened, the Atlanta Braves. The time before that, the 69 Mets. So it tells you how unbelievable a story it was this year, and they have a foundation of some of the good young players. The Rays are going to be around for a long period of time. There's no question about it. Pitching and defense can win in the American League East as well. It's amazing.
Well, tremendous success, and you go all the way back to spring training, and these guys coming in. I talked to Jason Bartlett over the course of this season. I said, what was the mindset coming into the season? They thought being successful this year would be 500. After playing the spring training games, which Kruky knows don't mean a whole lot, they still felt like, hey, we're better than a 500 team. We're looking at possibly trying to get to the postseason, and boy, did they extend that. So without question, a successful year. They got nothing to hang their heads over, even though they're a little cold this last series.
Yeah, that's the thing. So many years, every year, if we can finish 500, if we can win 70 games, 570 games in the American League East is mediocre at best. This team pushed it forward, and they didn't settle for just being mediocre. They wanted to be good. The difficult thing is going to be this winter, when they're expected now next spring training to win. They're expected to compete. They're expected to be at the top of the division. When now they're the hunter, they're being hunted right now. It's going to be a little more difficult going into spring training.
93, 2000. You just hope that this isn't a missed opportunity and they don't get it again. They do play in the best division in baseball.
Well, you know what? They've learned how to win. They've got a core of good young players, and I think the one thing we know is Joe Maddon's not going to let them kind of rest on their laurels. They're going to come back out next year, and he's going to continue to push them to try to be successful.
All right, Joe Maddon's got his DVD going to spring training. Philadelphia fans, you get set to create your own DVD. When we come back here to Citizens Bank Park, we'll look back at the glorious moments that got the Philadelphia Phillies the World Series title. The celebration continues well into the morning as Philadelphia piles on.
Double Impact is brought to you by Old Spice Double Impact. It's two things.
City of brotherly love and Love Park there. They're all in love with Cole Hamels now. 1-0 with a 2.77 ERA, and he, of course, didn't lose in the postseason. He went 4-0, had a chance to go to 5-0, but the Phillies were unable to hang on to the lead that they got quickly as play resumed on Wednesday. But he is a favorite son now of Charlie Manuel and the rest of the Philadelphia Philly faithful. Your Old Spice Double Impact, winning the LCS and World Series MVP in the same season, joining Oral, Levon Hernandez, Darryl Porter, and the 79 We Are Family Willie Stargell-led Pittsburgh Pirates. All right, so the Philadelphia Phillies, while the city of Philadelphia continues to celebrate, they celebrate their first World Series title since 1980. Their first and second World Series titles in franchise's history, 1980 and 2008. Remember Jimmy Rollins, of course, with the We Are the Team to Beat. This was an odd season. They didn't appear to be the team to beat for most of it. I mean, you think back to that September 11th series against the Brewers, in which they then went 13-3. Until then, they weren't the best.
No, everyone thought the Mets were, and then all of a sudden the Mets just had that implosion in their bullpen and allowed the Phillies to get in, and that's all it takes. You get in, you have an opportunity, but, you know, the thing about this team, it was what their weakness was in spring training became their strength throughout the whole season. That was that great bullpen.
Congratulations to the Phillies and to the Rays. An unbelievable season, and to their player development and scouting people who aren't out in front, who don't get all the credit. There's a lot of people that make an organization successful that don't get the recognition, so congratulations to everybody.
Let's play ball.
Let's
Spring
do it
training will
again.
be here before we know it.
Stay tuned all off-season to baseball tonight, and thanks to everybody who made it possible. We enjoyed this year and look forward to many, many more. Congratulations again to the Phillies.
Fastball, there's a drive deep to right field. That ball is gone. Philadelphia Phillies have won the first game of the 2008 World Series. Struck him out swinging. It is 4-0 Rays. The Rays have evened up the World Series. They beat the Phillies 4-2. Fastball, there's a high drive deep to right field. 2-2 pitch. Curveball, there's a shot. High and deep to right field. Way back there. Goodbye. Utley and Howard have gone back to back, and it is 4-1 Phillies. High fastball. Chopped slowly toward third. It's rolling. Barehanded by Longoria, and the ball game is over. Here it comes. Howard swings, and there's a high drive. Deep to left field. That ball is crushed. Goodbye. Home run for Joe Blanton. Swing, line drive down the left field line. That's in there, base hit. 2-0 Phillies. Fastball lined into left field, a base hit. The slide, clean, and the game is tied. And the umpires are moving in. They may stop the game. We're not sure.
Tonight's game has been suspended.
There's a drive in the deep right center field. Here's the swing, and Burrow hits a high drive. Hit right to the middle, base hit into center field. And the Phillies are back ahead, 4-3.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball. This is the 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball. Brad Lynch does it again and stays perfect for the 2008 season. And let the city celebrate.
The very familiar voice of Harry Kalas. You come to Philadelphia, and the Flyers, Sixers, Eagles, and Phillies all play within one block of each other. These fans are connected and have remained in touch with their teams in spite of some failures over the last couple of generations, and none of that was more evident than what we saw before Game 3. Tug McGraw pitched the final ball for the Phillies in the 1980 World Series. Before Game 3, his son Tim came out and spread his dad ashes on the mound. Tim Kirkshin looks back on the decades of disappointments and how it all turned around in one night.
So finally, after 25 years and 100 seasons of sports, there is peace but not quiet for the maniacal fans in Philadelphia. The city that gave us Ben Franklin, Rocky, and freedom is free at last from the vice that had gripped the 4 major sports teams here since the 76ers won the NBA championship behind Moses Malone in 1983. All the great players that never won a championship here, Charles Barkley, Allen Iverson, Donovan McNabb, Eric Lindros, are off the hook, and so is Mitch Williams. The Phillies won the 2008 World Series. It wasn't easy. Nothing ever comes easy in Philadelphia. The Phillies endured a cold, rainy debacle in Game 5 that ended 2-2, then had to wait 2 days to finish the only suspended game in World Series history. But their fans returned, loud as ever, and still waving their white rally towels, even though their ace, Cole Hamels, the 4th pitcher to win 3 Game 1s in the same postseason, surely would not start again in the World Series. Still, the Phillies' failure to hit with runners in scoring position for 3.5 games against Tampa Bay had this city wondering if this was actually going to happen. And then the team leaders, the smallest guy on the team, Jimmy Rollins, and the biggest guy on the team, Ryan Howard, took over in Game 4, giving a sense of inevitability to the series. The final out in the clinching Game 5 fittingly was recorded by Brad Lidge, whose late inning failures brought him from Houston to Philadelphia, where he didn't fail once all year. In the end, it wasn't Moses who parted the sea of red. It was Lidge, Howard, Utley, Rollins, Ruiz, and the rest of the Phillies. Finally, Philadelphia's quarter-century wait is over.
Hi, Tim. Thank you very much. They win it on Cole Hamels' wife's birthday, on Jamie Moyer's 20th anniversary, and John Kruk's mom's birthday, October 29th. You were here in '93. You know how difficult it is to get over that mountain. What does this mean to the city of Philadelphia?
Well, it means everything. You know, since 1983 when the Sixers won, of course, they've been, no championships involved, but this is great for the city. It's great for the fans of Philadelphia. But, everyone has asked me, this during this whole run of the Phillies, if they win the World Series, do you feel vindicated? I feel nothing of the sort. All I feel is happy for the 2008 Philadelphia Phillies, the players, the front office, the manager, the coaches, most of all the front office. It's like a family to me. I've been here since 1999. I moved back. I still live in the area. I still do stuff with the Phillies organization as far as, public appearances and stuff like that. Whatever they ask me to do, I'd do it for them. But I'm very happy for Bill Giles, a guy that has taken a lot of hits in this city over the years. Every time we had something, the closing of the vet, they announced all these great players. They booed Bill Giles. I think this is finally vindication for one man, and that's him. He's a great man. He's a great friend, and he deserves this, and so does this organization.
Well, I know, having seen the way the fans react to you, winning doesn't necessarily mean that the fans here will embrace you. It helps and goes a long way. But to watch you walk out here and see the fans in the stands turn around, losing in '93 certainly wasn't the end-all for you, Mitch Williams, or anybody on that team. Congratulations certainly in order to the 2008 Philadelphia Phillies and the rest of the city, which continue to celebrate early into the morning. I get the sense they'll celebrate all the way until spring training or another team wins a championship here in Philadelphia.